We're going to get the next panel started up again. We're trying to catch up. We were about 15 minutes behind. Hopefully now we're closer to 10 minutes behind. And in the meantime, I am going to tap dance just a little bit because our next speakers are not ready yet. One of the cool things that I've learned working in startups, and this is not just in Web3, is actually that there's a pretty simple formula for checking if your startup idea is going to have legs in terms of being able to sell it. And it's not whether you have UTXOs or UTXOs or an account-based system of accountability. It's actually if your startup can actually impact one of three things. That's health, wealth, or relationships. And it's one of the things that we really try to focus on as we accompany startups. I work for a consulting company that works in the Web3 space, focusing on protocols and startups. And we try to bring it back to, can they move away from the technology? Doesn't mean that the technology isn't important, but can they move away from the technology? And are they able to bring it back to one of those three things, health, wealth, or relationships? And generally, if you can do one of those things, then you can justify why someone would pay you. If we go to relationships, generally we have dating apps, we have LinkedIn, we have getting hired. So all of those things are relationship-driven business cases, and you've heard some of those in the Battle of the Builders. If you're talking about health, that might be your feeling of well-being when thinking about all the crypto you'll lose or your family will lose if you die. And if you're talking about wealth, obviously that's very inherent to any kind of degen scheme that we have within crypto, so we usually don't need to push too hard to talk about the wealth standpoint. But one of the things I would challenge you to look at when we bring on these speakers and we bring on these different cases is, can you find aspects of health, wealth, or relationships within that? Now, the next group of speakers are going to be talking about education within the blockchain space and a couple really cool projects that are going on. We're going to have a representative from the Cardano Foundation who is coming from the LATAM Business Development Branch. And they've been doing some really cool stuff in terms of bringing on LATAM and Brazil in particular, which, if you're not aware, Brazil is very much at the forefront of practical uses of technology, very much like Dubai. We are going to have a representative of Petrobras, which is doing some cool stuff around proof of authenticity with shipments. We're going to have a representative from the Dubai Business Development, which has not only onboarded hundreds of startups in the pursuit of good uses of blockchain, but has also recently integrated blockchain in every aspect of a district's running. And we're also going to have a member of a law firm who recently started fractionalizing real estate in Dubai. So some really cool stuff to go on. I hope we'll have some very poignant and interesting questions from the moderator on these topics. In the meantime, if you'd like to grab a bottle of water, we've got a stack in the back and probably enough for everyone who's sitting down right now. But we are almost ready to go.
So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rafael Fraga. I am the Latin Business Development Lead of the Cardano Foundation, and I'm very honored to share this panel with Marcelo Curi, the architect and specialist in blockchain innovation from Petrobras, the largest company in Latin America. Also, Amaru, the COO of the blockchain, Dubai Blockchain Center, and Kokila, the founder of CARM Legal Consultant. Thank you very much to be here today, and I believe that we can enjoy a really deep conversation into how education can help to drive adoption and innovation within different kind of, I would say, players in the market, from the public and private sector. So very welcome to all of you, and thank you for the audience as well. So we're going to kick off with a question that is pretty much like a provocation to our panelists. We know that blockchain has been like progressing very quickly in this market. We know that blockchain is driving innovation through Brazil, UAE, and around the world. But I would like to know, for Marcelo, Amro, and Kokila, how is the vision about the past, the present, and the future of blockchain and new technologies in their companies? So I'm going to start with Marcelo. Marcelo, can you say to us a little bit more like how Petrobras it's kind of like evolving with the technology of blockchain, how was in the past, and just like very quickly, you could dive in, how is this progress that Petrobras is taking right now when it comes to blockchain technology?
Okay, good evening everybody. Good afternoon. I'm very happy being here for the second time. Well, straight to the point, we started at Petrobras in 2017, more or less. At that time, as you know, the issue, the subject in whole and around the world was in a niche. So imagine a golf company, an oil company in Brazil. But we developed, and our strategy is education, core competences, and use cases, experimentation. A proof of concept speaks more than thousands of words. So that's our strategy now, and with this partnership with Cardano Foundation, we are delivering nice things. One of these nice things is our proof of attendance in the stands in the booth of Cardano Foundation, and I invite you to test it with your mobile if your mobile has an NFC. That's it.
This is how blockchain should be. Using blockchain without know that you are using blockchain. The seamless approach of blockchain, and Petrobras is doing very well for a company that I would say like a year ago was like with zero experience with the blockchain technology. So it's a really impressive progress that you guys are doing. Amrul, thank you very much to join this panel. Can you dive in a little bit more, like how the blockchain Dubai Center is evolving with blockchain? How was the past and the future that you guys envision about this technology?
Yeah. I'll speak a little bit more about the ecosystem as a whole and not as an infrastructure or a company using the technology itself. The past, I mean, everybody's gone through learning about Bitcoin at the early stage. The blockchain wasn't known then. It was the Bitcoin then. And the blockchain then was understood by a niche group of people as the decentralized system to transact financial transactions. And since then, there was challenges about understanding Bitcoin. I've gone through this myself. A lot of people were skeptical about, Bitcoin, another cryptocurrency that's, another way of flowing money into another financial system. So that was the past. There was a lot of challenges about the negative connotation of Bitcoin. Security, other issues, but mainly the education was the biggest challenge. People wanted to learn more. Again, I'm using myself as I remember first hearing about Bitcoin. I thought the first thing that comes to mind was potentially a scam, and not until you learn the value of a decentralized system that is self-governed, that has no intermediaries. It is the value of having Bitcoin. So then people learned about blockchain. That was the past. So there was a huge steps into from the launch of Bitcoin, understanding Bitcoin. Fast forward 10 years, look what's happening now. There's an explosion of growth, not only what blockchain as a technology, but use cases, exploring more use cases. You mentioned a very good use case. So there's a huge flood of use cases. This is the present. There's a lot of potential opportunities into the market. Companies are exploring. Entrepreneurs are coming into solving real world problems using blockchain. And as you mentioned, you don't really have to understand the underlying technology per se, but you have to understand the values to bring in the value proposition into this. So this is the present. The future, I anticipate there's a lot of more mainstream adoption. And this is where I think we play a pivotal role into how do we bring more education into the mainstream. There is still a challenge between, I still get questioned of, I was stopped by a security officer yesterday, and he's like, I love the movement here. How do I learn about blockchain? And I think this is what we need right now, is educating more people. We have to come up with more, what we did with Cardano as an example. We signed an agreement to bring in this movement, to bring in more education to the people. The course that we did a month ago, which is enabling enterprise to use blockchain for solving real world problems. So I think this is the future. Once that is solved, a huge mainstream acceptance will happen. And then we won't have this ambiguity of what is blockchain. People don't need to understand. People using phones every day, they don't know, they know 4G, 5G, they know internet, they know networks. They don't know what,
They just use it.
they don't know the details, and they don't need, I think the future of blockchain will be the same. People understand this is blockchain, and that's it.
Thank you very much. Kokila, I'm interested to know about your vision regarding, of course, the niche that you work with, legal. So how your firm and how I would say like the legal business can take advantage of the blockchain technology, and how you envision like the future of blockchain technology within the legal sector.
Uh, Before we start on the future, it's very interesting for me to talk about history. As a lawyer in this space, my one fact that I tell everybody is that I studied about cryptography laws and the use of digital signatures in university in the year 2003. So my thesis were on what is the problem, why we cannot use digital signatures, or why Napster or e-money failed. What is the issue with double spending? How do I make sure a time stamping is done so the contract that I'm signing in Brazil with the counterparty, say in Australia, how is it all proven? These were the problems. Blockchain came as a solution. So in my head, this is as simple. So what I studied in 2003 as a problem, the technology caught up to that. So I can actually take a little pride in saying that I studied and observed this as a problem almost a decade before the technology got ready for it. And the the things that we talk about right now that people don't understand, that is Bitcoin a scam? A cryptocurrency, what is it? I cannot touch, feel it. These are not even the relevant questions that we should be talking. The use cases, what Petrobras is talking about here, actually should have been the topic of conferences a decade back. Glad we're doing it now. So we've come a long way from seeing that the problems were there. They were thought about it, read about it. So if I read it as or I did my master's in it in like almost more than 2 decades back, it's not something new. This is something that we whole world has been talking about it. It's just that now it's coming to mainstream. The present today is that we have these booths, we have a lot of players coming in here, and I will be the devil's advocate and say that it is still only here. You go out of here, you go on a radio and you talk about stable coins are coming to UAE, a caller calls and says, how does that affect me? So we still have a long journey, all of us sitting here, to talk about the real use cases. Maybe the education needs to come in that there are use cases that you are doing your proof of attendance. That's it. You do not need to go behind and say, this is how I do it. I don't want to know how internet works. I just know it works. It's the same thing that we need to bring into this whole sector, and especially to this most disruptive technology that I would see it in my lifetime. I'm not that old or young anymore, but I know that I will not see a disruption like this again. AI is good, AI is brilliant, but this is what the genesis, the one which solved those problems, where we're saying that internet not just used for sending emails to each other, being used for bringing in value by signing those contracts, by giving the evidence proof and transacting and doing money transactions. When a company like, say, again giving example of a Petrobras, says that I work globally, how my transactions are monitored, not by 10,000 employees, but a single platform and technology taking care of it. That's the vision. And for that, the most important, like that's why for me this panel is amazing, because this is where I want to come and talk about as a student in this space and not just as a lawyer.
I think it's very interesting to flag that the path to reach this mass adoption that we envision in the future needs to go to education. But however, there is a topic among education that is pretty much critical right now. There is a misinformation. I'm going to say that. So when we say about like blockchain, it's like, oh, it's Bitcoin, it's a scam, or it's something that, I don't trust. Can you guys, starting to Marcelo, describe a little bit like how the misinformation within, for example, Petrobras, was a kind of like a blocker to advance with the adoption of blockchain, Marcelo. How misinformation was like handled by you and by Petrobras?
Well, we have misinformation and myths. The myth about NFTs, we have now a use case that proves that NFTs are not only collectibles. We have in the background to get this done a lot of work creating the first enabling processes, taking from Coquilla about speculation and corruption and scams. When you have a native token of a consensus mechanism in your treasury, you are not speculating. You just have the token that allow you to build things in a blockchain. Okay, people do this. People speculate. I have stocks. I can buy Petrobras or any other company. People short us. People can short a company in a stock exchange. They are speculating. That's the same thing. We have many artifacts and a lot of uses. Good uses, bad uses. But the fault is not of the artifact.
Amaro, if you want to just like diving into like how misinformation was fought, for the Dubai Blockchain Center, and about yourself here in the UAE as well. And I would also add, not the misinformation, but also like how the education through the blockchain center was leading to this movement here in the UAE to the understanding of the technology as well.
Yeah. So one thing to clarify is what you see here, the ecosystem that you see here, wasn't started yesterday. It started a decade ago because of education. I know that Dr. Marwan, when the first things that he did was teaching what Bitcoin is and the actual, the technical part of it, and as well as the value, so that we clarify that misunderstanding. Because a lot of people back then were, again, a lot of it was about security. There was misconceptions about, criminals are using it. In fact, Dr. Marwan was involved in this back in 2012 as part of educating the police force as what is cryptocurrency, what is Bitcoin, and how is that used, which got him to, for curiosity, to learn more about, since he's technical as well, to read about the white paper and read the technical of it. So this started over a decade ago. Teaching is critically an element that what we see today. It's the innovation that we see today, the openness, the understanding of what's happening in the marketplace. So it all started from education. Given classes, educating people, public, businesses, and government employees, to teach them the benefit, to enlighten them about what the real technology is, and not to bring in all the, again, speculation into this. So we still play a pivotal role into educating. We, again, work with institutions like yourself and blockchain companies and innovators and businesses to bridge that gap. We need to bridge that gap to get the mainstream, again, acceptance by more understanding, more people understanding that this is a technology that will change our lives in the future and benefit us. This is how we're doing it as a blockchain center to deal with the misinformation and the speculation.
And it's really impressive, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kokila, I want you right now to. We were just discussing a few minutes ago how the Emirates is pushing education and how they are really investing in kids to coding, to really like merge this Web 2 mind thinking to a Web 3 mind thinking. So can you just describe in some bits how, in your vision, the Emirates is like hitting the point when it comes to taking, I would say like the genesis of our generation to prepare them for the future through education?
Absolutely. So in 2016 is when actually Dubai launched the first, the blockchain policies. Much before the laws and regulations, where other countries in the world were still looking at, should we ban it? We don't understand. UAE said that, we will have a framework for it. We are going to get our government departments to start using it. And I've been fortunate enough to be working with Dr. Marwan since 2017 to see how he actually worked on bringing in this entire ecosystem and growing that here. And interestingly for us, when I started my law firm, my first client was the Dubai Rollers Court, and they said, "Can you start a program which is for blockchain for lawyers, for our lawyers to understand that whenever a client comes and says, I wanna," and at that time, 2016, 2017, we were talking about investments in ICOs, a lawyer doesn't give out an opinion and saying it's illegal. Look at it, the legalities and the whole part that plays in there. And interestingly, same time, the Ministry of Education and KHDA, that's the governing authority here, started looking at that we need to bring in this STEM education, or what we talk about coding, or bringing in the technology not at a secondary level but at a primary level. Interesting fact that, like I was telling you, my 10-year-old actually gets graded and marked on coding. So it is a part of how they are growing. Financial inclusion, understanding financial literacy, understanding that how technology and finance, which later on we're all very proud and saying, oh, we're in fintech, we see kids here talking about it. Kids here understanding that Bitcoin, blockchain, what's the difference? And it's very interesting conversation when I sit with them and they all talk about, oh, so do you still go to a bank? I said, yes, there are physical banks which still exist. So UAE has taken that entire lead globally. When we as a country talked about it, we did not just say we will come out with just a licensing regime. We made sure governments started using it. So we made sure that there are real-term use cases that we see here. Then the government focus was from top to bottom on fixing up and looking at the legal issues around it. So that's how we see ADJM came out with the regulations in 2018 on ICOs, amended that, and then we had an entire OCAB, what was called then operating crypto assets business. So we as a country, interestingly, like I talk about, we've seen the full adoption. We've seen it from blockchain, we've seen it Bitcoin on use, then we've seen ICOs, we've seen OCAP, then when it was still called crypto assets, and now we have virtual assets. So as the industry is growing, the nomenclature is changing, UAE is adapting to it. Yesterday, the biggest news for us as a country is we have an entire framework for setting up DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. And not many countries in the world are looking at it as progressively as UAE. So we have the education, we have the laws and regulation, we have the market, we have the government will. So this is what all it will take for any nation to grow in this space. And UAE is one of the best examples for us to study.
100%. UAE is really leading when it comes to the blockchain and crypto adoption. Brazil is not behind. Brazil is among the top 7 countries in the world when it comes to blockchain and crypto adoption. And regarding UAE and Brazil, I think it's interesting to kind of discuss the regulation environment in those countries. So Brazil and UAE, they are like leading right now the regulation sector. So both countries, they are fully regulated. You can invest, you can create, you can build, and you can expand the ecosystem, I would say, like legally. And there's not many countries in the world that has this framework already set and I would say like solid, such as in UAE and Brazil. Marcelo, you are it's a part of the working group in Brazil, CVM and the Central Bank of Brazil, that they are the regulators of crypto there.
Or SEC.
Yes, the SEC of Brazil, sort of speaking. Can you share with us a little bit like how the regulators in Brazil are, I would say, not regulating, but they are like envisioning the future of blockchain during these dark, I would say, times back in like 2019 and 18 when we start to regulate crypto in Brazil?
Yes, in fact, if I'm not wrong, we started in 2017 or 18. I'm not sure if I can translate correctly the name of the artifact, but we had rules at that beginning, and we are on the run building the regulation while fostering innovation. We participate, me and you now, we participate, we both, but I started before, in Innovation Lab that is maintained by our SEC and some banks and institutions. And one of the proposals is build innovation while building the regulation. And use cases are again the mainstream. We have a sandbox. Every year we invite all companies in Brazil to present their cases, and our SEC supports and allow these companies to test that use cases without with a kind of a license. I don't know how to translate a license to be regulated after they build the use case, so as to understand everything, and then okay, now we understand the use case, and now we understand how to regulate it. I believe that. By the way, in Brazil we have more people, more citizens holding cryptocurrencies officially than holding than trading in stock exchanges. This is a huge number.
I believe that here in the EU as well. So, Amaro, can you dive in a little bit more about like how the regulation are progressing here? We have VARA, we have the DMCC as well. So, can you dive in a little bit more about it?
I'm sitting with an expert
I
of
know,
regulation.
I know.
I should not step into this territory. I would actually delegate this question to.
Please, Kokila.
Yes, so interestingly, UAE, as we said, that we're completely into it. So like VARA is a bespoke regulator in the world which was set up only for virtual assets, only for this industry. So look, feel, space, and everything is about virtual asset. It's not a financial regulator that is trying to get virtual assets into the space, but a virtual assets standalone regulator. Then we have other free zones which got into this space, and again giving the example of RagDAO, which is looking at the non-financial element that this whole blockchain technology brings on. If I want to set up a DAO, if I want to have a governance token mechanism in it, I have the framework for it. Then we have Abu Dhabi Global Market that came out with these frameworks way back, like 6 years back, but now they have an entire DLT foundation set up. So if you're a layer one blockchain and you want to build your entire ecosystem, your community to grow in a legal structure, ADGM provides you that. So we've thought about all these different realms of what we say virtual asset space and grown in that. And then we have our central bank, which came out with the stablecoin regulations. So where they realized that they were missing on the pie that this entire blockchain financial ecosystem builds in. So they came out with the regulations. And last week itself, we had the first in principle approval given for a AED-backed stablecoin. So the entire ecosystem, whatever you can think about in this space, is already available here. We're talking about metaverse strategy. We're talking about AI policies. So UAE is again, it sounds like more like I'm doing marketing for the country, but this is pretty much like how we talk about that. Not just again UAE. This whole region is leading this space. We have Qatar Financial Center, which came out with like this most simplest form of regulations that you would need if you're an investment token, if you're a security token, or if you're a non-regulated token, the most loved utility tokens that we talk about. So we have every regulator here in the region, not just saying that we want to adapt, we want to start using, we're going to build this ecosystem. So yes, regulatory-wise, I would say not just UAE, the entire Middle East is like they know their game.
No, I would say that it's crystal clear that the Middle East and Latin America, they're leading the world when it comes to the crypto adoption, regulation, and also, I would say, creating a friendly environment for startups, builders, and also financial institutions to settle them and push their business. But however, we know that to reach this level of adoption, we need to pass through education. And regarding this topic, education, that is something that I always love to say, that we need to make decision makers and technicians to speak more. There is a gap right now. And this gap, it's being a blocker when it comes to really push this mainstream adoption within the companies. So it applies to Petrobras, Dubai Blockchain Center, to CARM, and many other companies in the world. I would like you guys to really describe how you see this gap being reduced through education. How is the role of education to really connect decision makers to, I would say, like the technicians, the people that understand the technology stack, but sometimes they don't have the freedom to discuss that with their line manager, the CEO or director. But those, they are who decide. So, as I said, they need to connect, they need to be more close. How is the role of education reducing this gap? How you see that, Marcelo?
Well, you made my point, part of it.
Front running,
Any-
sorry.
No, not a problem. We are co-creating here. Any objection has an intrinsic opportunity inside. It's difficult to deal, and when we talk about a big company, Petrobras has 40,000 employees. If you consider outsourced, 100,000. We have the leaders. They deal with this big machine, daily problems, things they know how to handle. Lot of that things. When you come up with a new thing, you have to be patient to get the correct time to present your point and insist and persist. We are discussing before that there's a shortage of devs, for sure. This gap, in my opinion, will keep, will maintain. Okay, diminish a little bit depending on the architecture, but the main gap we have, the main problem we have is to make decision makers, the leadership, understand what is good, what is the real risks, what are the real opportunities. I think this is the most important thing and most important mission of education and people that have this will to make things happen. I think we need to be close to the leadership during this path.
No doubt, no doubt. Leaderships, without knowing, they are being like, I would say, like onboarding us in Petrobras, as we mentioned, like a year ago was like a wasteland when it comes to blockchain adoption. And slowly but standing, they are like advancing, understanding each day. So fighting the misinformation and also bring the awareness about this new technology. Regarding the blockchain, the Dubai Blockchain Center, Amaru, how you see, I would say, the approach of the Dubai Blockchain Center when it comes to involve the leadership or the decision makers in this process to fight the misinformation and also to bring awareness about the blockchain technology?
So your question is about involving the leadership in general. The thing is, that's what makes us different in the UAE. The leadership has been taking the initiative.
You guys are doing a great job. I have to confess. Yes.
So the vision is embedded in the vision. So this is for not just the blockchain specifically. This is for the digital economy. Dubai has a very aggressive vision and goals to double and triple the digital economy here. So this is not just blockchain. This is AI. This is fintech. This is metaverse. Everything else around it. So yeah, I agree with some point that there is still some legacy, maybe senior managers that are still not educated enough, and not necessarily the technicality of it, but again the benefits. And I think we spoke again earlier. What we're seeing right now is investigating and identifying problem-solving issues or platforms that are using the blockchain. And this is what we'd like to navigate and meet companies and talk about it to actually foster that innovation, to make that connections with government for pilot projects, for example, help with the investors community to fund in more. We see a lot of capital coming in. So this is really our role. So it's not just education. There's more than education, but education starts from education, I wouldn't say education, but involving the leadership into the advancements, because this, a year ago is different than today. It's going to be different than a year later. So that's the short answer.
Thank you very much. And Kokila, I mean, in your vision, do you think that the role of education right now, I would say not only here in the EU, but around the world, its core, I would like you to share, like, as we discussed before, how you see the role of education right now to drive this adoption of blockchain from your point of view, but I would also, I'm going to provoke you a little bit more, like, from a legal perspective as well.
Sure. So, like as we were discussing, that education is going to be incomplete if we are just talking about the technology. If you're just talking about, okay, you should know coding, you should know how smart contracts work, how this chain is operating. That's just one element of it. We have a shortage of that itself. Like as we discussed, in compared to a Web 2 space, we only stats say that we only have 26,000 blockchain so experts technically. And then to add on, how many lawyers do you know in this space? Very few. How many professors do you know who are ready to go teach in a university talking about, as Amro said, that these are the problems, these are the solutions that this technology provides. So we need to still come to this is a long journey. So like one of the programs that I know the university in Cyprus runs, it's again talking about purely just about how do you code. And that's it, the program ends there. But then my understanding of it in the last a decade plus says that that's incomplete. You need to tell them the business use cases, you need to tell them the ethics part of it, you need to tell them the legal part of it, because as I'm repeating that this is a disruptive space. It's changing the mindset. We are going back to saying we don't need intermediaries. Throughout the financial system is built on intermediaries. When you're bringing a disruption to that level, you need to have an education that runs on that level, where you're saying that do not fear but trust. Very interesting. 2 days back, I was at a panel, and where we said, we as the industry, the thought leaders who are in this space, we made a mistake when we started using terms like cryptocurrency. We should have always called it a virtual asset. No bank would have seen us as a threat because currency, oh, you're entering my payment system, I'm going to stop you. And then the biggest mistake was everywhere we went ahead and saying, oh, we are a trustless system. No, we are a trusted system. We don't need a trusted third party, but we are a trusted system. So look at because we all believed so much in it, and then we said that this is how it's going to disrupt. We need to do that education also, that this is for it to stay. It's not going. Now the education starts at all levels of it, from schools, from universities, society, financial institutes, medical, all of it. Like the use cases when I see it, and especially when we deal with some of the governments in Africa and we see how it's actually solving their real-time problems, that is what needs to come to the main stage. Not just talking about that are we in a bull run or not, but talking about what the impact it's actually bringing in here. I'm part of a program where there's an entire education program in Metaverse to a village in Western Africa where the kids don't even speak the language the kids from here are talking in. But how we've been able to do it? We've created a metaverse for it. They understand. Gamification is not just, oh, are you getting enough points? Are you going to get enough money? But gamification is actually telling you, start thinking about this right now. So
This is, by the way, what we at the Cardano Foundation are doing through the Cardano Academy that I believe that Petrobras is already using, the Dubai Blockchain Center as well. So we have a free course with gamification. It's very interactive. So it's a way to, I'm going to just share very quickly here. When I started to study blockchain, was like that IBM paper, very boring, black and white. And I was like, nah, I don't want to study that. And right now, through the Cardano Academy, there's a free course with like 12 hours of content. You can really dive in and having fun to learn. And this is, I think, it's really interesting because you can drag the attention of the students to some very important topic. And we have approach to zero to hero that I believe it's being used by Petrobras and other companies very well, because we are bringing a lot of people that doesn't understand the technology to a level of understanding. And this is the path of education. One word, education is
Knowledge and possibilities. 2 words.
I'm going to be more progressive. Education is innovation.
Education is experience.
That's it. Education is everything. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.